The boy says they need to talk. Lucas Trauman looks at Tay-boy. The boy says he has heard that he is good at using magic. The boy folds his arms before him and asks if he knows him. He says he is Alex Drimid. He tells Lucas Trauman that he is an upperclassman, so he should be praising him. There are other boys with him. They also look at Lucas Trauman. Alex Drimid says he can destroy a brat like him with a scratch. Alex Diaramid gets mad at him. Alex Diaramid asks him what he has done to David. He tells him he cares for David just like a big brother, a man from the upper class. Alex Drimid says he has smashed the leg and nose of David. He asks him how he will pay for it. Lucas Trauman wonders if the boy is insulting him. He asks the boy if he is insulting him. He says he just wants to confirm if he is bullying him. Alex Drimid raises his hand and tells him it is the way he will talk to his senior. He asks him to pay respect to his senior. Lucas Trauman gets mad at them and calls them little brats. Alex Drimid asks him if no one is important in his eyes. He again asks him why he dealt with David like this. Lucas Trauman yawns and ignores Alex Drimid. Alex Drimid tells him he went around 16 during the previous Gladied magic competition. He asks him if he still needs to understand who he is. Alex Drimid says that means today is his funeral. Lucas Trauman puts his hands in his pocket and says it seems like he is praising himself with a group of friends to threaten a poor underclass boy. Alex Drimid asks him not to be afraid. He says the boys are there to spectate. He asks why they would group up to deal with a weak, puny boy like him. Lucas Trauman forms a magic missile, aims it at one of the boys, and throws it away. All the boys float in the air like lifeless things because of the magical aura created by Lucas Trauman. The remaining ones look afraid. They call out Alex Drimid, who is lying on the floor unconscious. Some of the boys call him a shameless bastard. They say Alex Drimid was talking to him. They say he is not supposed to attack when the opponent talks and transforms. He says sorry. He adds it is his bad. He says he suddenly realizes what he is doing with the kids is wrong. He should not do that. The boys look at him when he calls them kids. The boys approach him angrily and say there should be a limit of insolence. A fat boy comes forward and says he is the eldest boy of the Gillard house Gloggerex. The boy in the white cap says he is the second son of the house of Pinalark Frix. Lucas Trauman shouts that he is Magic Missile. He makes a cross-arm movement and throws his magic missile onto the boys. The boys move up and down in the air and fall to the floor. Two more boys run toward him with the intent to catch him. Lucas Trauman forms another magic missile and repeats he is a magic missile. He moves the magic missile in the form of a big hole in the air and aims at the boys. He throws the boys away in no time. Then he repeats the same move a few more times and quickly knocks down all the opponents. All of them were an easy catch for him. After beating them, he sits on two boys who lie on the floor. He says this is relatively meaningless. He says they were just a group of foolish kids. He says that at this rate, he might get infected by their stupidity. Lucas Trauman goes out of that place and comes to another place. He lays his head on the table. All he can think about is how meaningless things are. He keeps repeating the word meaningless in his mind. His books and notebooks are lying on the table. Meanwhile, someone enters the room and asks him what he is doing these days. He moves his head and looks at the person. He finds Isabel standing in front of him. He says, oh, it was she. Isabel says he has been creating bloodbaths with his magic missile everywhere. She asks if he knows that all the trainees call him Death Missile. He says it is pretty embarrassing that they call him Death Missile. He again puts his head on the table and shouts that he does not know what to do. He says he has no opportunities to use magic stronger than a magic missile. He says this is quite boring. He makes an innocent face and puts his head on the table. Isabel looks at him. She seems mesmerized by Lucas Trauman. She looks at him and says he is so cute. He asks her why she came over there. He inquires what she wants. Isabel tells him that she has followed his advice. Lucas Trauman makes a face as if trying to remember which advice. She says she knows that the troll's blood can be used to enlarge the circle to increase efficiency. She says his suggestion of mixing the troll's blood with a magical essence in the proportion of 7:3 was a breakthrough. He says, oh, she is talking about that. He asks her to use half of the troll's blood when she next tries it. He says the unique strength of the troll is diluted in their blood. She says this would be a significant breakthrough. She thinks for a while and asks what he will teach him today. Lucas Trauman looks at Isabel. He thinks about when he will start torturing her. Then he shakes this thought out of his mind. He says Isabel is an intelligent student. Locust Trauman thinks if he raises her properly, she can quickly become an 8-star or maybe 9-star mage. He thinks for a while. After waiting for a while, he calls Isabel. He says they will talk about battling today. Isabel looks excited to hear this. She asks him if he means this. He says he will leave the training on the vacation. Locust Trauman says if she accompanies him, she can see the battle with her own eyes. He tells her the journey is going to be a harsh one. He says she can lose her life during this journey. He says that is why if she is not confident, she should leave it. She says she will accompany him. He looks at her. Isabel looks confident. Isabel asks him to take her on the training. The following day, Isabel packed her stuff and came to Locust Trauman. He looks at her. He tells her that they are going on training. They are not going for camping. Isabel says women have a lot of things they need. She says he will not understand. She asks him where they are heading anyway. He rubs his head and says he is not sure yet. He says he is thinking about the Aspani Mountains. Isabel tries to understand if he means this. They start their journey and arrive somewhere near the destination. Isabel says the mountain range looks very dangerous. He tells her that the mountain range is a paradise for the monsters. He asks her if she knows how to get there. She opens her bag. She says it appears he always manages to astonish her. They look at the map to figure out the path. She tells him it would take her a half day to get there after they reach Hispaniola using the warp stone. He tells her he heard the path is challenging and filled with dangerous monsters. Isabel takes her bags on the shoulder and looks down. Locust Trauman asks her if she is scared. She asks him not to look down upon her. She says she expected their journey to be challenging from the beginning. He asks her what is the thing she just mentioned. He asks her what a wrap stone is. She says, just as the name dictated, it is a wrapping device used for long-distance movements. Locust Trauman says how convenient things have become. He says there was not any such thing 4,000 years ago. Isabel looks back and repeats 4,000 years ago. He thinks when magecraft did not develop, technology was evolving quickly. That is the reason the trainee skills are so poor. He says that to see this, they commercialized ideas like wraps. He says this is such an excellent idea. Locust Trauman says wrapstone is such a convenient word. Isabel tells him that the cost of that is the drawback. He asks her if it is expensive. Isabel says it is obvious. He asks her what is its price. She tells him that since the distance between Cosinfini and Espagnols is extensive, the cost would be at least 10 gold coins. He asks her if it is 10 gold coins. He turns back and takes a gold coin from his pocket. He says his whole fortune is 1 gold coin. He asks what he is supposed to do with an impoverished noble like Frey. Isabel asks her if everything is fine. Locust Trauman stops thinking that and says Isabel is also a noble, so she must have so much money with her. Isabel asks him if he is feeling well. He runs toward her and asks her how much money she has. Isabel asks him what is wrong with him. Isabel says she does not have any money with her. Locust Trauman says what? She says gratification makes people lazy. She says she would need to bring travel expenses on the journey to train. He shouts at her. He asks her to go home and get money with her. She says she cannot. She says earning money for traveling is also part of the training. He asks him if she is serious. He asks her if that is the reason that he brought Biff bags with her. She says this is a different thing. She says women need to have other things with them. He asks her to be quiet. She says things will work well when they reach the capital city. He says he hopes so. She asks her if he ever done a job. He says never. They get a ship. They look at the boat. He asks her if it is free. She says it is free for the trainees. He says that is why there are so many trainees. He says he hopes the food will be good. He thinks it would be fun if they served meat. Isabel tells him that they serve top quality food. He says he is drooling at the thought of having meat. Water drips out of his mouth. He says he loves their academy. They start to get on the ship. The crew member of the ship says that the ship is full. The man tells them the next departure is after 4 days. Locust Trauman sits on the floor and creates a dramatic scene. Isabel holds him. They look at the ship with sad faces. Meanwhile, another ship arrives. Locust Trauman says this is okay, but he becomes furious when he looks at the right side. Isabel says this is human nature. The man says that the ship will not stop at Geothanbol, but they will reach Cosinfini within 5 days. The man says it is also free of charge for the trainees like them. They say they are thankful. The scene shifts to an inn where weird-looking people sit and eat food. One of the men says everything is ready, Captain. The captain says this is good. He adds they will leave tonight and make it memorable. The men seem like looters. The man takes a bite of food and laughs. The captain asks the man why he plucked his eye out. That is so painful. He asks the captain if he is cracking a joke. He asks if it is not a symbol of pirates to have one eye. The captain asks him if this is why he plucked out a perfectly functioning eye. He says this is such a foolish thing. The one-eyed man laughs and asks the captain if they are in the right state of mind here among blood-red raiders. The captain says this is right. The captain puts his finger on the map and tells the today's target in the ship that will stop by Geothanbul. The captain says they will target the ship when they pass next to the Oskal archipelago. One of the looters laughs and says they will loot quite a lot tonight. The man asks the captain about the name of the ship. The captain gets mad at the man and says he and his memory both are dimwits. He says if he does not want to pluck out his other eyeball, listen to him carefully. He tells him it is a ship with all sorts of brats from wealthy families. He tells his group that the ship's name is the Corteso. Both Isabel and Locust Trauman get on the ship. A man welcomes them to the boat and tells them he is the ship's captain. He says his name is Mac Martinez. Isabel thinks they will be in his care. Isabel tells the captain if that ship had not come, they would have been stuck in the town for the next 4 days. Isabel says that although the ship is so impressive, she asks why there are only a few passengers. She asks the captain if there is any reason. The captain says the ship will pass by the Oskal archipelago, where pirates sometimes appear. Isabel seems worried to hear this. The captain says there is no need to worry about it. The captain tells her that 2 warships are escorting them. He says that there is a 4-star magician aboard each ship. He tells them that they are battle mages from the magic tower. The captain says no matter how many pirates will come, they will not succeed. Locust Trauman yawns and says, oh, this is quite relieving to have battle mages. Both the captain and Isabel look at him. The captain says if those bastards have a brain, they should not aim their ship, escorted by warships and mages. The moment the captain completes his sentence the war crew runs here and there in a chaotic way. One of them says the pirates are there. Captain Mac Martinez sees a ship and says this pirate's ship. Isabel says this is terrible, Captain Mac Martinez. Isabel asks Captain Mac Martinez about the warships. Captain Mac Martinez says the warships have been sunk. The captain says this is impossible. He says this is not something that mere pirates can do. A few moments ago. On the other hand, the looters laugh at reaching near the targeted ship. One of them says that the Corteso is in sight. The captain notices that there are 2 warships with it. One of the men asks what they will do now. The captain asks him to be quiet. The captain says the person will deal with them. The captain moves his hand toward a mage and says he is a special guest for today who is hard to invite. The person looks no less than a monster. The captain says that he is Lord Dullard Lick. The captain says he is an exceptional person. He adds he will help them with the raid today. The man gets scared to see him. The captain calls the one-eyed man a fucking moron. The one-eyed man says he has only heard about people like him. He says seeing it in real life gives him chills. He says he is feeling as if he is in a nightmare. The one-eyed man says he thought the captain had gone crazy to plan to attack a ship escorted by 2 warships. The captain asks to continue talking and loses his other eyeball. He changes the talk. He says to think that the captain had a contract with a lick is quite impressive. That sounds like the captain is such a man who will leave his marks on the history of the pirates. The one-eyed man gives a thumbs up to the captain. The captain asks if he thinks like that. He says this is right. The lick attacks the warships with the ice spear. The 4-star mages seem shocked to see this. The mages fight with the lick. One of the mages strikes back with fire. The other one attacks with a spiral-like spell to block the attack. They try hard to defeat the lick, but in vain. The warship sinks into the water. The captain laughs to see this. He asks his companions, let's make money tonight. All of them have weapons in their hands. They seem all ready to attack. The captain comes close to the lick and says this is quite impressive. He says that he has destroyed 2 warships with a single hit. The lick turns back toward the captain. The captain looks at the face of the lick and says this scares him. The lick says he summoned 3 ice spears because there were 3 ships. He says he wonders how that one ship is still afloat. The captain joins his hands and tells the Lick that he has informed him about their circumstances with respect. He says that he was not required to attack the third ship. He says they need to use the passengers on the ship as hostages. The Lick looks in anger. He says he apologizes. The captain calls the Lick a bone-headed bastard. The Lick says he attacked that ship to prevent them from escaping since dealing with them would be a pain. He says the attack was not heavy enough to make that ship sink. The captain asks him what he is trying to say. The Lick says there is something on the ship. The scene shifts to the Kurtisu ship. The captain asks the trainees to calm down and follow the orders of the ship's crew. All the trainees run here, and there is a state of chaos. Isabel says the warships were annihilated. Locust Traman pats her head and says there is no need to worry. They are just pirates. He says it is making him worry if it is just because of the pirates. He says there were 3 ice spears, but one of them vanishes in the middle of the air. Isabel asks him if he intervened. He says no, it was him. He says that he has sensed Mage fluctuations that he could not block. Locust Traman says he is not different from Frey. He says his mind went blank when he sensed the presence similar to a demigod. He thinks if the punishment of 4,000 years is pressing him. He says he needs to get a grip on himself. The attacks are similar to the demigods and not by him. He senses something and says this is an attack by an undying mage. Isabel asks if it is not him, then who blocked the attack. He says who knows. He thinks they should thank him for defending the ship, whoever it is. Meanwhile, pirates again strike the ship. The trainees shout with fear. The pirates throw different things at the ship to reach there. Some of them throw ladders at the other ship to get there. One of the trainees shouts the pirates are invading. The pirates jump on the ship and attack the ship's crew. They start killing them. The trainees run here and there because of the fear of the pirates. Locust Traman stands calmly. Isabel stands beside him in the middle of the chaos. He asks Isabel if they are pirates in reality. Meanwhile, the captain of the pirates comes to the ship. His heavy feet make trainees shiver. The pirate captain says he was looking down on it for being smaller than the Nefluso, but there are many passengers. He says 40 people are from wealthy families. He thinks they can spend the rest of their lives without working efficiently. The captain laughs horribly. He says he welcomes the wealthy trainees with big money and dreams. He says to the trainees they are bloodred raiders. He says they are their friends. Captain Mac Martinez comes forward and asks the pirate's captain if he knows which ship he is attacking. The captain laughs and says of course he knows. He says it is a chest of treasure with the relatives of wealthy families. A man comes forward and asks how dare the dirty pirates talk like this. All the pirates look at the trainee. The boy says they do not know what they are getting themselves into. The boy says the ship is filled with excellent trainees. He says these trainees will become big mages one day. The boy says unfortunately they have chosen the wrong vessel to raid. One of the pirates asks him to wait for a while. The captain of the pirates throws a knife toward the boy. The knife hits the boy on the neck. He says they are not saying they will let him finish casting spells. The boy notices that the knife has not hurt him. Instead, it hit the wall behind him. Locust Traman says the knife was going for the neck, but the trajectory was a little tilted. The trainees again start running here and there. He wonders why the pirates chose this ship. He looks at a weird-looking boy. He thinks it is he who blocked the attack earlier. The weird-looking boy comes close to the boy who dares to talk in front of the pirates. The boy in haughty says the pirates are not the opponents he can deal with. He asks him to stay down obediently. The one-eyed pirate asks his captain how he missed the aim. The captain says he did it because the boy is a valuable hostage. The captain asks the pirate to get serious and stop messing around. They look at a trainee in the spectacles. They say, let's aim that boy. The boy sits down and pees in his pants. The captain says, oh, the baby peed in the paints. The captain orders one of the pirates to wash him. The pirate comes close to him, picks him on his shoulder, and throws him into the sea. The boy falls into the water with a splash. He cries and asks for help. The boy coughs badly. The boy sunk into the water. The other trainees feel sad to see this. One of them says how cruelly the pirates killed the 2-star trainee Orca. 2 trainees furiously look at the captain and say how dare they do this to Orca. They start to create a magical aura to fight them. The captain makes fun of them and says they are so noisy. They throw the magical aura onto the captain, but they hit back. A robust magical protection shield surrounds the captain. The magical aura revolves around the captain like a wheel. The magical aura starts to come toward the trainees. The trainees wonder what this is. Lord Dullard, Lick appears from behind the captain. The Lick's magical aura hits the trainees badly. The students look at the horrible creature. One of them shouts, "This is a Lick." Isabel wonders if he is a real Lick. Locust Trauman looks at the Lick. Captain Mac Martinez asks the pirates if they have signed a contract with the Undying Being. He asks them if they are in the right state of mind. He says the Undying never makes a deal with the mortal. He says they are being manipulated. The captain of the pirates says he does not care about that. He says they are pirates and only care for money. Captain Mac Martinez says they and their love for money are insane. Isabel holds Locust Trauman's arm tightly. Locust Trauman asks her to leave him. It is already boiling. He says it is humid. They are in the middle of the sea. Isabel ignores him and sticks to his arm calmly. He says these pirates are complex. She says they are disastrous. He says the Lick is at least a 5-star being. He says now he understands why the 4-star mages fail to defeat him. The Lick asks the person come out who blocked his magic. He asks him to show himself. He says he knows he is among them. He again asks him to reveal himself. He takes his hand out, creating a solid magical aura. The Lick says if he does not come out, he will kill all the people. The Lick forms multiple crystals in the air. Everyone looks scared. The pirate's captain says he cannot do this. The Lick ignores him. The captain says he is so terrifying. A boy comes forward. Lord Dullard, Lick asks him if he is the one who blocked his attack. The boy says indeed he is the one. Lord Dullard, Lick asks him to reveal his name. The boy takes out his cap. Everyone looks shocked. The boy says his name is Peryuan Jun. Isabel and Locust Trauman also look surprised. Locust Trauman asks Isabel if she knows him. She says every trainee in the academy knows about Peryuan Jun. She says he is the leader of the most fantastic club in the academy, Trauman Rings. She tells him he is the son of one of the 3 most influential houses, the Jun House. She says his grades are also excellent. Locust Trauman says, "Oh, is that so?" She tells him that she and Peryuan Jun always compete for the rank 1. Locust Trauman asks her if she is bragging right now. Isabel says no, she is not bragging. She tells him that although their grades are the same, his level must be higher than hers. The trainees cheer to see Lord Peryuan Jun. They say Peryuan Jun is there, which means they are safe. Isabel says it is most probably Peryuan Jun who nullified the magic of the Lick. She thinks he can deal with this situation. Locust Trauman asks her to keep her hopes high. She asks him why he is saying so. He says it must be difficult for him to stand straight right now. Locust Trauman notices blood is coming out of the mouth of Peryuan Jun. He says the Lick is at least a 5-star being. Locust Trauman says that Peryuan Jun has gained enlightenment and is expelling the impurities out of his body, but he is barely a 5-star person. He says the very fact that he is still alive after canceling magic higher than his power is a miracle. Isabel asks him what they will do now. She asks Locust Trauman if he is at a higher level than the Lick. He says no. He again urges Isabel to move aside as it is very hot. On the other hand, Peryuan Jun thinks he should not have chosen that ship. Peryuan Jun thinks choosing a ship with trainees to stay inconspicuous was a bad idea. He has stopped the attack, but he feels like his body parts are about to break into pieces. Peryuan Jun looks at the Lick and says he cannot face him. The Lick says it is his lucky day. He says who knows that he will find an excellent material like him. He says he has asked the captain what his goal is. He says it is not much. The captain says all these children were passing through the dangerous Oskal archipelago, so they could not stop interfering. The captain says he will escort the children safely to their destination Kazimphony. The trainees seem afraid of the pirates. The pirate captain laughs at their fear and says they are everybody's friends. The other pirates laugh at this. Of course, they will escort them after they get their advance payment. Locust Trauman says it was just for the sake of money. Peryuan Jun addresses the pirate captain. Peryuan Jun says to the captain that he has a suggestion. Peryuan Jun asks the captain to keep him as the hostage. He says the Jun House can pay them double the amount he expected to gain today. Peryuan Jun requests the captain to release the other trainees. The captain says that he is an idiot to give him a suggestion like this. He says they have the Undying Being with them. He says they can take the amount he offers and will the other. He says so. Why should he listen to him? Peryuan Jun says he is right. He cannot face the Lick he hired. Peryuan Jun says he is confident he can drag him and his fellows into the afterworld. Locust Traman looks at Perun Jun and says he starts to like him more than before. He says he is an impressive spirit for his age. He says the country's future is bright. Isabel asks him what he is saying. The Lick says he refuses the captain's proposal. He says the mana of Perun Jun is of excellent taste even at this age. The Lick extends his hands to him with the help of magic. He tries to capture Perun Jun. The Lick says he will absorb his magic till the last drop. He says he will use his body to create an undead to control. The Lick takes Perun Jun in his grip and says he is already his. The pirate captain laughs and sounds with this. The negotiations will end. The captain orders the pirates to take all the trainees to their ship. The pirates start dragging the trainees. The trainees cry for help. The pirates treat the trainees wildly. One of the trainees says she is about to puke. The one-eyed monster tells his companions they are doing an excellent job. The pirates mistreat the female trainees. The one-eyes looks at Isabel and says she is a cute one. Isabel tightens her grip on the arm of Locust Traman. The pirate asks Isabel if she would like to play with him. He says he is a good boy. Locust Traman asks Isabel to stay on the side as it is very hot. The pirate asks if the twig in front of him would stay aside slightly. Locust Traman looks right and then left. He asks the pirate if he is talking about him. The pirate calls him an unburned piece of firewood and says he is talking to him. Locust Traman asks the pirate to watch his attitude. The pirate says he is such a rascal. The pirate says it is time for a beating. The pirate asks Loksu Traman to come toward him. Locust Traman instead calls him to come. He says who the hell is he to give him the order. Isabel seems afraid to hear Locust Traman's challenging tone. One of the trainees looks at him and asks him not to fan the flame. Jack asks Frey if he has gone mad because of his recent popularity. Jack calls him a fucking dimwit and asks him to stay quiet. Locust Traman looks at Jack and says long time no see. He asks him if he is fine. The pirate gets mad at him. The pirate asks him if he knows who will die in the current situation. The pirate takes his big knife and runs toward Isabel and Locust Traman. Trainees shout to see this scenario. Locust Traman says the one unable to read the mood will die. Isabel takes refuge behind Locust Traman to see the pirates attack. Locust Traman hits the pirate hard and makes him fly in the air. The pirate falls to the floor. All the people present there look at them. One of the pirates asks what this is. One of the trainees says if he is not Frey, the eternal loser of their academy. Perun Jun notices the move of Locust Traman. He says he hits the opponent before the blade can reach him with an instant amplification of mana. Perun Jun says he has followed an excellent speed he cannot manage. Perun Jun says he knows he is talented, but to think that he can manipulate mana perfectly is unbelievable. Isabel looks at him and calls out his name. Locust Traman taps her head. He asks her not to flinch and watch carefully. He gives her confidence. He says none of the pirates are stronger than her except the Lick. He says she should be able to defend herself. He asks her if it is not right to say this. He calls her Miss Mage. She looks at him. He looks at the other pirates. One of the pirates asks what has happened just now. The pirate scratches his head and asks if that stupid one-eyed rascal trips over his feet. He says he is too horny. Locust Traman comes close to that pirate in no time. The pirate asks who the hell is he. Locust Traman beats the pirate badly and throws him away. He says they should have agreed to negotiations with Perun Jun. He says he is not a kind and gentle fellow like Perun Jun. Locust Traman says despite his appearance, he has never killed a human being before. The pirates abuse him. Locust Traman says gays like him do not look like human beings to him. One of the pirates asks if he has gained some balls of steel. He asks his fellows to attack him. The pirates run toward him. Locust Traman throws a magic missile toward them and stops them. The pirates seem unable to compete with his strong aura. The pirates again come toward him and ask him to take their attack. However, Locust Traman again attacks them with his magical power. The captain seems unable to believe this. He says this is impossible. Locust Traman beats the pirates badly with his magic and physical hits. He throws them as if they are lifeless things. One of the trainees says it looks like all the pirates are not his match. A pirate holds a female trainee tightly and asks her who he is. The trainee asks him to free her. Locust Traman now jumps at that pirate who had a female trainee inappropriately. He kicks him hard. All the pirates surround him from all directions. One of them is surrounded. Let's attack him. They all jump at him to attack. Trauman jumps up, and they attack each other instead. One of them asks the others why they are attacking each other. One of them shouts that he will kill him. Another one brags in the same way that he will kill him. They again run toward him. Trauman stays in the air with the help of his magic. The pirates wonder what he is doing. One of the pirates asks him to wait for a while. Trauman comes back to the floor. He is about to make his next move. One of the pirates holds Isabel. He puts a knife to her neck. He asks Trauman to stop fighting. The pirate tells him not to move. The pirate asks him not to dare to move even his finger. Otherwise, he will slash her head off the shoulder. Trauman asks him what he will do. Isabel uses her magic of lightning strikes. She attacks the pirata with her magic. He succeeds in freeing herself. The pirate falls to the ground. Everyone looks surprised to see her magic move. The pirate captain looks at her. Trauman looks at her with appreciation. He says this kid acts innocent and kind, but she is skilled. The captain claps and says the move is expressive. The captain addresses Trauman and asks if he is an escort dressed in the trainee's uniform. He says those moves give away his disguise. Trauman says he got him good this time. The captain asks Trauman to have a deal. The captain says he understands that he is not an ordinary boy. The captain asks if it would be easy for him to clean up everything present here. Trauman asks the pirate captain to speak. The pirate captain says he will take half of the trainees. The pirate captain asks him how about this deal. One of the trainees starts crying to hear this. He says he does not want to die. The pirate captain asks Trauman if he agrees to this deal. He says he will save his face and they will have their gains. The pirate captain says it is a win-win situation. Trauman tells the pirate captain that he is rotten to the core of his heart. He says he has killed some of the members of his crew, but he is still saying that it is a win-win situation. The pirate captain tells Trauman that he can decide who to keep. The pirate captain says he can take half of them. One of the female trainees runs toward him and asks him to choose her. She comes close to him and says she is begging him to pick her. She says she will pay him back. She asks him how about 100 gold coins. She says she is ready to do anything he asks if he is unhappy with this. Another trainee asks him to pick him up. Another says he will give him 150 gold coins. Another trainee says he will provide him with 200 gold coins if he picks him up. Trauman says he is in a bind. He asks Isabel what they should do. He asks her if he should take the money. He says they do not have travel expenses. Isabel says he cannot do that. Trauman goes close to the trainees. He says the highest bid is 200 gold coins. He asks them who will pay more than that. One of the trainees gets ready to spend 300 gold coins. Isabel gets mad at them. She asks them why they have started an auction. One of the trainees asks Trauman to choose him. He says his life is worth more than the others. Another trainee says he is the son of the Gleon house, which has a long history. Another trainee asks him not to laugh at him. He says he will become the country's minister in the future. He says to Frey that he will appoint him to a high position when he becomes successful. He asks him to make careful decisions to see who can give him more benefit. Trauman asks them to stop. He says his ears are rotting. He asks them to stay away. He says it is hot since they are at sea. He says these little brats learned how to spend money very early. He asks them if it is their money. He says it is the money of their parents who earned this after taking pain. Isabel looks surprised to hear his words. Trauman says the children becoming mages are trying to save their skin. He says this is disgusting. He asks them if this is the way how mages act. He asks all of them to listen to him carefully. He says a mage is a hero who protects the weak ones no matter how life-threatening the situation may become. He says a mage always saves others before himself. Isabel seems impressed by his words. Trauman again asks them how much they are willing to pay now. Isabel again gets mad to hear this. She asks him if he is bipolar. The pirate captain and the lick silently look at them. The pirate captain thinks the lick is as silent as a dead person. He wonders if he is unable to win against the greyhead. The lick reads his mind and says this is nonsense. He says there is no human that he cannot win against. The pirate captain asks why he did not answer his question if he has read his mind. He says the bonehead is such a fucking freak. The lick says he has just been paying attention for a while. The pirate captain says now he must be careful about his thoughts. The Lick looks at Locust-Tramen and says his man shines like the one he saw before. He says it looks like he is a competent magic warrior. The Lick adds that the boy is just a 5-star in the end. The Lick thinks he cannot compete against him. The pirate captain says he knows he can trust Lord Dullard Lick. Lord Dullard Lick addresses Locust-Tramen and says he has killed many magic warriors like him. Lord Dullard Lick asks him to give and be his. Locust-Tramen dusts off his shoulder and says how unpleasant he talks, just like a demigod. Lord Dullard attacks a living missile magic spell on Locust-Tramen. Isabel looks afraid to see this attack on him. Lord Dullard attempts to kill him. Isabel asks him to be careful. She tells him that it is a tracking spell that will keep following him. Locust-Tramen says he knows about it. Perwin-Jun says this is dangerous. The Lick does not control the tracking magic. It works on its own, so the Lick can attack with an additional magic. Locust-Tramen tries to compete against the tracking magic. The Lick attacks with the bone hands. Various bone hands appear and move toward Locust-Tramen. Locust-Tramen tries to avoid that attack. The pirate captain says come on, kill him. Isabel calls out his name to see him falling out of the ship. Locust-Tramen falls out of the ship and the bone hands attack the ship. The trainees panic to see that attack. Isabel forms a magical aura to block the attack. She calls out Frey's name and asks him to answer her. They think Frey has died. Perwin-Jun cries to see this. He is still in the grip of the Lick. The Lick forms a strong magical aura around him. Someone attacks the Lick's shield. The grip around Perwin-Jun also disappears. The Lick wonders how this happened. He says the living missile should have attacked the magic warrior. He says once the target dies, the living missile disappears, so why has it attacked him instead? Locust-Tramen appears behind the Lick. Isabel and Perwin-Jun look surprised. Isabel asks him if he is alright. The Lick sees Locust-Tramen and says this is impossible. Locust-Tramen says to the Lick that he looks prettier from behind. The Lick wonders how he has dodged the attack that came from all directions and blinked behind him. Locust-Tramen says he appears behind him because he does not like his face. The Lick says if he is saying that he has managed to do this on the unstable deck. The Lick asks him how this is possible. The Lick says even he cannot do this feat. He says this is not something that a human can do. Isabel asks him if he is alright. Isabel and Perwin-Jun look at him. The Lick creates a magical aura and goes to the top. Perwin-Jun says this is the ice spear that made the warship sink. The Lick says he has a bad feeling. He thinks he should have destroyed the ship. He says it is all because of Perwin-Jun's mana. He says there is no other choice but to fight. The Lick attacks the ship and notices there is a barrier. He asks what this enormous barrier is. Locust-Tramen creates the barrier. The Lick says this is impossible and that he is blocking everything. Perwin-Jun also wonders to see this. He says he starts vomiting blood after blocking one attack only. The Lick seems irritated to see him blocking his attacks. He asks how the hell is he? The Lick again attacks him and says die human. Perwin-Jun sees this and says it is an ice spear of an inconvincible size. The attack presses Locust-Tramen's power for some time. However, he reaches the Lick in no time. The Lick wonders to see him in front of him. Isabel and Perwin-Jun take charge of the fort and apply their power to block the attack. Together, they form a shield over the ship. The Lick says there is no way that a 5-star chicken can rival him. Locust-Tramen says it is because he knows the path. The Lick says what he means. He asks if he is saying that he can see the pathway ahead of 5-star. Locust-Tramen asks him to fight a little harder. He says he is excited to use magic spells stronger than magic missiles. The Lick asks him what is his identity. He replies he is Frey Blake, the Westrod Academy's loser. He says this is what they say. The Lick asks what he means by they say. He says his real name is Locust-Tramen. He says he has returned after 4,000 years to educate crazy lads like him. He says he is history's strongest mage. Isabel says she cannot hear them. They are too far. She asks Perwin-Jun what they would be talking about. The Lick says this is nonsense. He says Locust-Tramen is dead. Locust-Tramen goes behind him again and says he looks prettier from behind. He takes his hand inside the Lick's body and holds his heart. The Lick growls. Locust-Tramen says this is his life vessel. He will not die until he takes out this. He says its locations vary for different individuals, which is why it took him a while to figure out its exact position. He takes out his heart. Lick's body starts to dissolve into the air. He crushes his heart in his hand. Jun says he defeated him with ease. The pirates look disappointed. The pirate captain asks why he died. He says he is not supposed to be an undying being. Traman reaches behind the pirate captain. He says there is no need to say that the negotiations have broken. He says every one of the pirates will die here. It just takes him a while to kill all the pirates. He knocks all of them down. The next morning, they reach their destination. All of them get off the ship. Jun calls him from behind, and he says what he showed was some extraordinary prowess. Traman ignores him. Jun says he is in admiration. He again ignores him. Isabel says if he ignores Jun bows down and says he has saved his life, and he will never forget this favor. Isabel asks Jun not to do this. She asks him to raise his head. Traman turns back. He asks Jun how he feels now. He says his organs must be in chaos after blocking Lick's attack. Jun says he is fine. He adds he is feeling fresh after regulating the dirty blood. Traman winks and asks him to stop bluffing. Isabel stops him and says he is being rude to Jun. Jun asks him what happened to him. He asks him how he defeated the Lick. He says even court magicians face a hard time dealing with a Lick. He calls him Frey Blake and says he has heard about him being the most untalented trainee in the history of the academy. He says he has come to prominence in the last few weeks. He asks if he has been hiding his skills during that time. He replies, who knows? All sorts of things happen when one lives life. Jun says this is true. Isabel looks at them. Jun asks him when he will visit his home. He says he wants to show his gratitude properly. Isabel wonders about the personal invitation from a prominent Jun house. She feels excited. Traman says he will visit if he gets time. She asks him if he is insane. She says it is Jun house. She says there are so many nobles who try to get close to them to use the smallest of excuses, and here he is answering, if he gets time. Traman says oh yes. He comes close to Jun and asks him to give him 20 gold coins. Isabel asks him to stop doing that. She asks how he can ask for money by using the favor as a pretext. She asks if he cannot act properly as a mage. Traman says she is so funny. He asks whose fault this is if they are in this situation. He asks her if she told him that she is not taking even a single penny with her. Jun says he does not mind giving the money. He asks him why he needs money. He says to use the wrapped stone. He says it is so expensive. Jun says oh, he needs this. He asks if this is why they are heading to the capital. He gives him 300 gold coins. Jun says since it is to show his gratitude so, there is no need to pay him back. They open their mouths to see 300 gold coins. Traman says he only needs a small amount. He says only 20 gold coins would be enough for him. Lord Jun says he does not have change. He can keep all that. Traman says he is such a rich and noble kid. Lord Jun says he would like to invite him as his marriage talks are in the middle. He says he is sure that when he returns home, there will be many things to do. He says there must be so many preparations to do. Traman asks him not to brag too much. Lord Jun asks him not to say this. He says this is less pleasant than it looks. He says his father is making decisions single-handedly. Traman asks him if his fiancée has an older sister. Lord Jun says he has heard that she is from the Luinoble kingdom. Traman says he does not care about that. He says he does not mind if she has a single aunt. Isabel asks him to talk moderately. Lord Jun says she is a daughter of the Aquareed house. He tells them that they say it is an impressive household that has birthed countless knights. He says he does not know if he can go along with them. He says they will be disappointed to learn that his fiancée is a feeble magician like him. Isabel winks and says, is that what the Academy's top trainee should be saying? She says he is not weak. Traman taps his shoulder and asks him not to lose hope. He says he has a handsome face to help. Lord Jun smiles and says okay. Traman asks him to inform if his fiancée has an older sister or an aunt. Isabel gets mad at him and asks him if his mind is only filled with obscene thoughts. Lord Jun laughs so hard to hear Traman. He says he does not know when he laughed so hard the last time. Lord Jun says he is just a jolly friend. Lord Jun says to Frey he will take leave now. Lord Jun tells Traman that he must visit his house. He says he does not want to live the rest of his life as a jerk who cannot show gratitude properly. Locust Trauman says why not if he has time. Isabel again shouts at him for being rude. Lord Peruan Jun leaves for his house. He turns back and waves at Locust Trauman. Isabel thinks this is such a good sight. She says it seems that they are old friends. Locust Trauman says he is such a good gay. He says this is what nobles should be like. Isabel says he is indeed a splendid fellow. Locust Trauman laughs and says he also has deep pockets. Isabel again gets mad at him. Locust Trauman says he is sorry for being penniless. They stand on the bridge and keep arguing with each other. Isabel wears a heavy costume. She asks him how she is looking. She asks if she is looking gorgeous. Locust Trauman asks her to go home. She asks why she should go home. He asks her to excuse him. He asks her if she will train in fluttery clothes like this. He asks her to choose clothes that can easily be worn and not stink too quickly. Isabel makes a bad face. She says she also knows this. She says she was excited to see these clothes. She asks him why he is getting mad at her. The shopkeeper tells Locust Trauman that his companion is not used to minimalistic things. Locust Trauman thinks he should her somewhere else. They finally buy clothes for them. Locust says no matter how many times he looks at it. He says this is a fantastic item. He says it is a bag with subspace magic. He says it is incredible to think that objects 10 times the size of the bag can be stored in it. Isabel asks him if it is his first time to see this. She says it is not something to be that surprised about. Locust Trauman asks her if she is in a bad mood. Isabel says it does not matter. Locust Trauman says that the rapstone technology has developed a lot. He says there are so many changes as compared to his time. He says the population has also increased. He says their advances were not away from his imagination. He thinks he can say that things barely changed in 4,000 years. He says he can only suspect that demigods willingly deteriorated humanity's development. Locust Trauman thinks that the demigod cannot afford the strong growth of humanity. He says that he is the sort of person who believes that humans are only mere insects. Isabel asks him what he thinking so seriously. She tells him that they have arrived at the rapstone. Locust Trauman says oh okay. He says he needs to slap the answer from them. A circular-shaped building appears before them. The man making announcements says the rap will begin soon. He asks all the passengers to be careful. He asks them not to step out of the magic circle. Locust Trauman says it is impressive that they had made different sections. He says the mana required for the rap comes from the stones. He says this is awesome. Isabel asks him to stop. She says he is embarrassing her as well. The passengers reach the stone. Locust Trauman asks Isabel to be careful. He says people using it for the first time may feel nauseous afterward. She shouts that she knows that. She asks him not to be undefined. Before she finishes the sentence, the rapping begins. The rapping works on its mechanism. They reach the required place. Locust Trauman says they get to Hispania. He looks at the place. He says the place has stayed the same even after 4,000 years. He asks Isabel if she is ready to go. Isabel holds a wall and pukes. Locust Trauman says that he has told her that she will feel nausea if she is not used to it. She says it is because she has not eaten anything this morning. She says she will be fine if she eats a little. Locust Trauman thinks he should not bring her along with him. They reach an inn. They go to the counter to order something. Locust Trauman orders 5 servings of bread and meat with lots of meat. The attendant looks at him. He looks back at the attendant and orders beer as well. Isabel asks him if he is going to order beer. She asks him what he is doing. She says it is unreasonable to order beer. He asks her to be quiet. He asks her how long it has been since he had that. He asks Isabel why they do not serve beer at the academy. She says this is quite obvious. She says minors are not allowed to have alcohol. He says back in his time, everyone above 13, regardless of the law, drank it. Isabel says it is nonsense. The attendant asks if he is a mercenary. He serves the food. He tells how they are trying to enter the Hispania Mountains. They are newcomers. He says wearing undamaged armor and attaching a new sword make them look like they are going to hunt a dragon. Locust Trauman ignores his questions and takes a sip of the beer. The attendant says it is good to have ambitions for the young ones. He asks them to finish eating and return like newbies who have never challenged the Hispania Mountains. Locust Trauman laughs at this. Isabel says she has heard that it is paradise for the monsters. She says they are aware of the fact that it is a dangerous place. The attendant looks back at her and says she knows nothing. Isabel was shocked to hear this. One of the men present in the inn says, "Are these kids trying to go to the mountains?" Another one says it seems as if they have 9 spare lives. Locust Trauman ignores their comments and enjoys his food. The attendant says he is sorry to be rude. He tells them he had a son of their age. He tells them his son always roams around, saying that he will become a mercenary. He says he was a noisy boy. He says that is why when he saw them, he thought he should intervene. Isabel asks the old man where his son is now. He tells her that his son died after entering the Espana Mountains. Isabel says she is sorry to hear that. The old man says there is nothing to worry about. He says he is telling this to garner their pity. The old man tells her that his son was escorting a mother and a daughter who intended to gather some herbs. The man tells her that only the girl returned alive and told him about the demise of his son. He says he is not insulting them, but they should give up in the Espana Mountains. He tells her that even many experienced mercenaries have yet to return. The man says the place is a living hell. Isabel gets scared. She looks at her companion. He is still busy enjoying food. He says